Throughout history, humanity has documented an urge no man seems to resist. An urge so powerful, so deep, it becomes part of our cultural society. It's the type of instinct that will make a man go, hell yeah. This is the urge to climb a big-ass motherfucking mech. Titanfall 2 was supposed to be the return of the prodigal son, the return of a beloved franchise with an interesting gameplay hook. It was bigger, badder, the quintessential FPS gaming experience. But no one talks about it anymore. Everywhere you look, it seems no one's home. The developers packed their bags, and by extension, the player base is now a husk of its former self. What happened? Despite raging reviews across the board, the game's been shelved, and there seems to be no plans to work on a sequel. So whose fault is it? The communities? The developers? Shareholders? I don't know. So let's take a dive and find out why this game is so goddamn good, the reason why it was even made in the first place, and why we might have failed TF2. No, not that one. Ugh, just roll the clip. So Titanfall 2 was set to release in November of 2016. Surely it was gonna be a hit, right? Let me paint you a picture of the FPS market back in 2016. This was the era of the blockbuster FPS, and 3 shooters were on the race to take the crown. In the red corner, we've got Activision with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, a game absolutely no one cared about, so it's automatically disqualified. In the blue corner, we've got Respawn with Titanfall 2. It's gonna be easy, right? All they have to do is beat the Battlefield 1. Yes, that Battlefield 1. The same one EA was going to publish just a week before Titanfall 2 did. Do you see the problem here? BF1 was hyped to death. It was a breath of fresh air from the oversaturation of the futuristic FPS genre. Jesus Christ. Well, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Sometimes shareholders just like to shoot themselves in the foot for fun. Booting up the game, there's no fluff. Pick between the 2 main options, the campaign or the multiplayer. Now, if you're like me, first thing you're gonna do is go to multiplayer, right? Who cares about a campaign? Wait, what's that? Oh, really? Never mind, it actually seems like we're gonna do the campaign. Yeah, apparently people say it's been good or something. I have to come clean. I never played the campaign back when I bought the game in 2017. Well, okay guys, now I know that sounds... It's not like I didn't know it was gonna be any good. All my friends were glazing it over and over. BT this, Cooper that. Oh my god. Don't be a bitch, they'd say. Play it and get a job. Well, joke's on them. I'm a YouTuber now. So I went over the pretty short campaign, about 6 hours, and holy shit. I get it now. It's so big. Okay. Where do I even start? You play as Jack Cooper, just an average run-of-the-mill fireman of the frontier militia, with dreams of piloting a Titan. You drop into Typhon, a remote planet the IMC, that's the bad guys, run projects on. It's a mission just like any other. You drop in and your team gets immediately squad wiped by the IMC. Your captain and mentor, Ty Lastimosa, who has been showing you the ropes around so far, is about to die. But he transfers control of his Titan into you, asking you to
take care of him.
And thus begins an epic adventure full of crazy maps and subpar storytelling. Yeah, this story isn't really anything groundbreaking. It's just a run-of-the-mill bad guy versus good guy story. Where this campaign does shine though is through 2 key components. Its relationship between BT and Cooper, and its levels. The smaller campaign size and scope works in the game's favor. Not only do we have more resources to put into polishing the multiplayer, but the 8 levels all introduce new concepts and feel significantly different between the previous ones. So let's quickly go through some of the notable design choices and features that make this campaign stand out. The level people definitely remember when they think about the game is Effect and Cause. It starts out with the boys finally arriving at Major Anderson's coordinates, only to find him dead in an abandoned IMC research facility. But it's kind of weird that he's just phased in between the roof and floor. And it's also weird that you keep getting random visions of what seems to be the facility in the past, back when it was up and running. Well, once you get to Anderson's better half, no pun intended, you snatch a little time warp doohickey that lets you phase between time periods. This gimmick is cool, man. You have to hand it to the developers. They had to create 2 versions of the map and make the transition buttery smooth. And people thought Ratchet & Clank was impressive? Bro, this game came out in 2016! And on the Source engine? What? Oh, and when time freezes near the end of the level, god damn does it look epic. You finally understand what your friend sees when he says he's having Wi-Fi problems. What about other interesting places though? Well, every mission has its own concept. Into the Abyss is all about platforming through a frigging house assembly line, giving you plenty of room to explore the game's movement mechanics. Who even thinks of something like this? A house factory, bro? Get out of my head, man! The beacon has this contrast between the deep substation and the freezing altitude of the uplink dish.
Trust me.
And you get to use the arc tool to manipulate machinery. The arc shows us the beauty of Typhon, and you go all over the place, falling from your ship to get saved, then jumping to another ship before getting into the real ship where you raid it, moving forward deck by deck until you take control of it. And this tune is all sung by the beautiful lush terrain of the planet, as well as just ships and chaos and everything that makes this, in my opinion, the most cinematic mission in the game. I mean, you literally use another moving ship to wall run back into the same one. Tell me that's not badass. This is not your average COD campaign with boring military bases and cities. These set pieces break the mold. The devs have this ability to cram you down and make you feel big and constrained as you search for items inside a fallen airship, as well as the freedom and absolute wonder of giant areas. So we talked about the where, so now let's get into the who. So the campaign basically becomes this buddy film where Cooper is the more extreme and open guy, whereas BT, your Titan, is the more level-headed, serious, and distant character. As time goes on, these guys start to develop pretty well as compatriots, and each of them have their individual charm, especially BT. I really like how he misinterprets some things and acts like an AI would, completely missing the nuance, like when you find Anderson dead.
I found Anderson. He's, in the ceiling.
Objective complete. We have rendezvoused with Major Anderson.
It's cold, BT.
Correct. Anderson's current temperature is 17 degrees Celsius, below the threshold of human survival.
But as the campaign moves on, BT becomes more lax. Not just because you proved yourself a great pilot, but because you're brochachos now. My favorite proof of this is that BT starts out by calling Cooper Pilot.
Are you all right, pilot?
Then Cooper.
6-4. You can do this, Cooper.
Until it's finally just Jack.
Hello, Jack.
Glad to have you back in one piece, BT.
Over 25,000, actually. BT-7274 online and ready for combat.
This sassy motherfucker. It shows their trust building in speech rather than in actions, because, well, if we're talking about actions, there's already a lot of that in the campaign.
BT!
Got you.
I'm telling you, man, if my daughter says she's dating a clanker boyfriend and it's BT, oh, she gonna have some heavy competition because I want to get him for myself. Oof. Yeah, just look at that aura, man. That final scene, though, god damn. So that was something. But we're talking about less than half of the game. The real meat and potatoes of Titanfall 2 is in the multiplayer. And let me tell you, if this game nailed down one feeling, it would be badassery. Badassery? It makes you feel like a badass. So that campaign might have made you realize some of the basics of the movement and how it can feel pretty fast, but well, you're only scratching the surface. As I mentioned previously, this was all developed in the Source engine, so bee-hopping and air-strafing seeped their way into the game in their own special little mix, creating what is probably the movement system with the highest skill ceiling in an FPS by a long shot, with others being inspired by its wake. Because how you move in this game is just as important as how you aim. And if you really want to get balls deep into it, there's like 30-minute videos out there talking about all the shit you gotta learn. But that's not all. Take a look at these player classes. Ooh, so varied. I wonder what that one does. Nope, doesn't matter. Ignore all of these. You only need these two. Why? Because they're movement-based, damn it. Embrace the lifestyle and accept your calling for speed. Embrace the... Now, she might have given you the best 5 minutes of your life, but remember how the grappling hook treated you back then. Now, I'm no master with this, but using it will make you feel like Spider-Man meets ODM gear. You can just swing around with the swagger of a black teen. With a grappling hook, the ground's only a suggestion. You're gonna slingshot your way across cities, chaining wall runs, turning corners like a pro, and killing an enemy by hooking into him and kicking the shit out of him is awesome. And because it's all physics-based, you can control your swing, redirect your momentum, and combine it with other moves to become a blur. Now tell me any other big multiplayer FPS that makes you feel like the Flash. I'll wait. Okay, I'll get to you later, man. Just hold up for a sec. Mastering the movement just changes the way you play the game. But movements just have the story, and these maps can get really big. Why? Well, there's a reason this game's called Titanfall, my guy. The first time you hear that,
Stand by for Titanfall.
it's like losing your virginity. You're not some wimp-ass soldier now. You're him. So why do Titans work? I mean, first off, just look at them. They're freaking sick. And there's nothing better than calling in your Titan and demolishing everything you see in your path. You feel almost... Secondly, they create an asymmetric experience, where you aren't always equally matched with the enemy. Sometimes there'll be Titans and you'll be pilots, and the other way. This creates these Attack on Titan fall moments, where you either try to swat the little flies that have been pestering you for a while, or B, try to eliminate a 20-foot hunk of metal with nothing but your guns and your hook. And this is the key to Titanfall. You're always doing something that feels cool. Some of these top moments include the Titanfall kill, throwing a grenade into a Titan's hull, Titan executions, the nuclear ejection, and ninja stars? Bro, we got ninja stars in the future? Who directed this game? Steve Fukuda? No wonder this game is so cool. That name is gas. The Titan classes themselves are all pretty varied. Ion is your all-rounder. She can get many jobs done with her traps and lasers. North Star is basically a sniper, focused on getting kills on range, and you can fly, which is like pretty freaking cool, though she is fragile. But my heart, ladies and gentlemen, has always belonged to only one, Ronin. In contrast to other Titans, he's light on his weight and has pretty weak health. But he makes up with it with his big-ass shotgun and a Cloud Strive Buster Sword. He works best by getting in and out of fights quickly, dealing out damage in bursts and dipping to cover. You are pretty weak though, so you'll need to constantly raise your sword to block projectiles. But nothing, and I mean nothing, beats whacking your opponent with a 7-ton heap of metal and getting that kill animation. All of the Titans are excellent and they shape the core game's experience. Even almost dying with your Titan, you can do like an Arab and go out with a bang. There's a constant change to the match's dynamic. You all start out as pilots, then the top fraggers usually get their Titans first as they get more score. From then on, a Predator-Prey scenario starts, like the Attack on Titan gameplay I mentioned. Then the rest of the Titans drop by, some get destroyed, some stay alive, but overall it's just chaos ensuing. Rinse and repeat for the rest of the match, and you got yourself a pretty damn solid gameplay loop. The fluctuation of power spikes keeps the match dramatic all the way to its conclusion. And even then, the hype doesn't fully die down if you win or lose, as the devs add in an epilogue, where teams lose their respawns and have set objectives. If your team loses, you try and make it to the evacuation ship on time before it leaves you. And if you win, you're gonna hunt down the losing team to avoid their exfil. No one mentions this feature usually, but I think it's such a nice and subtle detail to make a more silent and intense last-second experience.
Oh no!
Map-wise, let me say that this game is just so goddamn beautiful. I actually just bought the art book solely for this video, and wow, this is one of the best $40 I ever spent. Whew, this one's my favorite. Imagine if they made a map in an abandoned civilization, like the Aztecs or something. That would have been awesome. Oh, not these little shits! So now that you've seen everything Titanfall 2 has to offer, did it sell well and become a titan, no pun intended, in the FPS world? While reviewers and players loved it, the game commercially flopped. To this day, it only sold around 4 million copies. Being released right next to the year's best shooter definitely left a mark on the game. Even if it was nominated for awards left and right, it never got a chance to shine. The industry just didn't give a damn, and it moved on. Titanfall 2 would receive a handful of decent updates, adding back new game modes, returning maps and weapons, But come year 2, and the devs went quiet. So by 2018, servers were still up but empty in almost all the playlists but the main game mode. Then came out Apex Legends, a battle royale made by Respawn. In a way, it's the spiritual successor to Titanfall, set in the same universe, shared weapons, and it even had expressive movement. But this game blew up, and it's still popular to this day. Look at this graph. It's not even a competition. And while Apex's success was a saving grace to the company, it practically sealed Titanfall's fate. Then, everything changed when the Hacker Nation attacked. Yeah, turns out that hacking into an abandoned game takes basically no skill. And around the mid-2020s, hackers hit the servers with DDoS attacks, making the game unplayable from the late 2010s to 2022. More on that in a bit, but just know that during this period, the game was practically unplayable. In my opinion, it also hurt that the game had basically no competitive scene. The game was just not built for esports, which I actually enjoy. It's just an easy game to pick up and have fun. You can go for a couple of matches and leave your Xbox feeling satisfied, unlike many competitive shooters out there. Sure, it's a broken game, but that's part of what makes it fun. It's a canvas built for expression, freedom, not a mathematically balanced game of chess like CSGO. It had one goal, to make players look cool, feel cool, and pull off insane moments that will live rent-free in your brain for years. So, with the game being broken, who was left to pick up the pieces? Well, if the devs can do it, someone has to. I was honestly pretty absent from the game post-2021, so I'll leave this part to my boy Reach. Take it away, man.
Hey, thanks. So, Titanfall 2. My journey with this game is certainly all over the place. But yeah, I was there when the DDoS attacks were happening, and undoubtedly, that event changed the legacy of Titanfall forever. But for what it's worth, for the people that remain, the love for the game just grew stronger, which then resulted in the North Star client. Released in December of 2022, the North Star client enabled players to bypass the DDoS attacks, and for the first time in a long while, players were finally able to enjoy the glory of Titanfall 2 in peace, with some added benefits. So along with the typical Titanfall 2 experience, you had custom servers, custom game modes, cut content, and, of course, mods. It was everything a Titanfall fan could really ask for. With it being the only really viable way to play the game as well at the time, it wouldn't be uncommon for people to naturally just start to recognize each other on the servers, with smaller sub-communities popping up here and there. However, if you've been around Titanfall 2 long enough, or hell, you're just active enough in the whole gaming sphere, then you probably already know a bit about the North Star client, or at least of its existence. So let me turn your attention to another part of the Titanfall 2 community that, during this period at least, had been steadily growing. And that is the speedrunners. Turns out having a movement game made in a heavily modified version of the source engine means that it's pretty great for speedrunning. Like, it's crazy to think that this game has undergone 3 movement revolutions. And yes, I'm not joking. Each of these revolutions fundamentally changed how people did movement in the game. Starting in 2020, Titanfall 2 speedrunners were hosting an annual speedrunning tourney called Mac March, which not only, of course, brought people together, but it gave people something else to do than just doom posts about Titanfall 2's sad multiplayer state. And alongside the North Star community, the speedrunning community is what I believe has kept the game going. But those events were in the past. What about now? Well, I can't say that the future looks bright, which kind of sounds weird coming from me considering all the posting I do about it. If I had to describe the state of the community in one word, it would probably be stagnant. Nothing really good or really bad ever happens anymore. Player counts don't really increase or decrease all that much, and while there may be a sudden surge here or there, it's always short-lived. The North Star client always gets consistent updates, but player counts average usually from 20 to 50 players at a time, because why play North Star when the vanilla game works completely fine, and you can use client-side mods anyways on those vanilla servers. As for the speedrunning scene, it's definitely starting to die down a bit as well with the amount of runs being submitted. And on the content creator side, well, besides me, a handful of people with inconsistent upload schedules, sorry guys, the occasional clickbait or nostalgia bait, I wouldn't really say the content creation scene of Titanfall 2 is booming. But regardless, I'm still having fun. I'm still hanging out with my Titanfall friends, I'm still meeting new people through Titanfall, and even if this game dies out, the legacy that is left behind will hardly be forgotten, at least not by me.
Couldn't have said it better, Reach. This game still has a soul, with people going to great lengths just to keep it alive, but unfortunately, it's currently in a limbo state. Titanfall 3 was supposedly also in the works for a while, but even that got scrapped, and there's no plan to work on it for the foreseeable future. So yeah, maybe we did fail Titanfall 2. Not because we didn't love it, but because we didn't see it when it needed us most. It launched between giants, got crushed by bots, and left behind the ghost of what could have been the perfect FPS. But what's beautiful about it is that it never stopped moving, even when everyone else did. Players rebuilt it, revived it, and refused to let it die. And maybe that's the point. Maybe Titanfall 2 was never meant to dominate the charts. It's not about who failed whom, but rather the bittersweet legacy of a masterpiece that never quite got its moment in the sun. TF2 might be a dormant titan, but its spirit lives on in the hearts of those who refuse to let it fade. And maybe, just maybe, one day that titan will rise again. Until then, we'll keep its memory alive.